Greetings everybody, this is Miss Bailey. This is a screencast to help you try and decide which of these 7 choices might be right for you. Let's get started. Your first choice is a book called The Chocolate War by Robert Corbière. The Vigils. No one was allowed to breathe a word about the Vigils. Officially, the Vigils did not exist. How could a school condone an organization like the Vigils? The school allowed it to function by ignoring it completely, pretending it wasn't there. But it was there all right, Archie thought bitterly. It was there because it served a purpose. The Vigils kept things under control. Without the Vigils, Trinity School might have been torn apart like other schools had been, by demonstrations, protests, all that crap. This book follows one brave boy's decision to stand up against the Vigils, which has consequences beyond what he might even imagine. Be prepared, this book does not have a happy ending. Your next choice is a book called Tangerine, written by Edward Blore. Paul Fisher sees the world from behind glasses so thick he looks like a bug-eyed alien, but he's not so blind that he can't see there are some very unusual things about his family's new home in Tangerine County, Florida. Where else does a sinkhole swallow the local school, fire burn underground for years, and lightning strike at the same time every day? That's the summary you'll find on the back of the book. Paul's story is an interesting one because there's an additional mystery as to why he has to wear such thick glasses. In the meantime, he has to deal with his very cruel older brother. This is a good book if you like stories that have some mystery, but also stories that are really at their core about friendship and not making judgments on people when you first meet them. This next choice has become really popular in the last week because the movie has just come out. If you were a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies, you're really going to like The Hobbit. This is a fantasy story, so it is a completely different world than our own. It could provide a great escape, but be warned, the writing is very descriptive. It follows Bilbo Baggins as he leaves the safe life of a hobbit and goes on the adventure of a lifetime. If you like books that take their time and have a very exciting end, then you will like this book. The next choice, The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd, is historical fiction. It takes place during the civil rights era and follows a young girl's journey to find out if she really truly was responsible for her mother's death, and finds out along the way who her mother really was. This novel is also written with little excerpts at the beginning of each chapter that help you to understand. So if you like books that use metaphors, have strong images, or have really compelling stories that are historical fiction, you'll like this book. Your next choice is called Miracle's Boys, written by Jacqueline Woodson. Here's what the back says. Lafayette loves his brothers. Still, he'd do anything to have things go back to the way they used to be, before their parents died, and before his brother Charlie got himself in trouble and turned mean. But things have changed, and now all Lafayette can do is wonder. What do you do when one of the few people you can rely on turns on you? And how are you supposed to survive when so much seems to be set against you? This book at its heart is really about the love of a family and what to do when the family hits tragedy. Be careful, this book has some sad moments, so if you're looking for a lighter read, this might not be for you. Also be careful, this book deals with some traumatic issues, so it can be hard to read at times. Overall, I think this book would be great for anybody who wants to read a story about the way that families can take care of each other through difficult times. This next book is for those of you who really like a good adventure story and survival story. This story follows two 15-year-olds, Gabe Rogers and Raymond Providence, roommates at a boarding school, as they try to survive the very harsh winter down in the Nahini River. There's white water and waterfalls. They have to deal with different wildlife, moose, wolves, bears, and it's their story of how they survive through one of the coldest winters. If you like stories that have a lot of adventure, this will be for you, but be prepared to not get a lot of character development in this one. You may not feel like you know Gabe as well as you might know some of the other characters from the other books. This next book takes place in Australia, Melbourne to be specific, and it follows Amal, a young girl who makes one of the biggest decisions of her life, which is to wear the traditional Muslim headscarf full time. When she decides to do this, she has to face prejudice because many of her peers don't understand, and many of the adults in her life don't want to understand why she might make this decision for herself. Throughout this book, she has to confront a lot of the stereotypes that face her and her peers, as well as question what her principles are and how hard she wants to stick to this decision. You might like this if you like to read books about people who take a stand for what they believe in. You also might like this book if you want to get a different type of perspective into what life might be like in a different place from a different culture. I hope you heard something that you might like. Please take a look at all of these books that appear on this slide and decide which of these 7 titles would be your top 3 choices. You don't need to order them 1, 2, 3, just pick 3 from the list of 7. I also encourage you to use the other links found on Moodle to look at other people's reviews and other opinions about each of these books. Good luck, and I will see you in class.